Good evening, everybody. Welcome to this week's Zen and Zazen class. Today is one of these weeks where we'll talk about Sawaki Roshi's To You. But before that, let's sit together for 30 minutes.
好，我们今天讲，就是《To You》那本书，然后前面有30分钟坐禅，然后后面20到30分钟可以跟老师提问，然后我们读那个经文。
Thank you for joining. So today I want to speak about Sawaki Roshi's To You, and we are in chapter 5 now. In the printed version, it's page 32. The first quote today goes as follows. Human happiness and unhappiness don't only depend on money. If the balance in your savings account were a measure of your happiness, it would be a simple matter. Yet it really isn't so. So money is not a measure of happiness, is what Sawaki Roshi is saying here. And then the next one. Without money, you've got difficulties. Still, you should know that there are more important things than money. You constantly think about sex. Still, you should know that there are more important things than sex. And of course, that goes for lots of things, like today, likes on SNS would be another example. A fast car, a big house would be other examples. Next one. Don't be so helpless that you start saying you need money to live. In this world, you can lead a fine life without sayings. And another one, number 4. Work, work. When you work, you get money. When you have money, you can take it easy and still have something to eat. Compared with such simplistic thinking, Marxism is truly sophisticated. Okay, before I explain a little bit more what came to my mind reading these quotes, maybe Xuan-san, if you like, you can translate first.
我简单跟大家翻译一下。刚才老师读了4章，然后第一部分是，我们就是人们或人类，的幸福或者是不幸福，并不是基于金钱之上的。比如如果你的账号里面的钱，是可以衡量你的幸福感的。那简直就是一件非常容易的事情了，但好像现实又不是这样的。然后这是第一句，然后后面一段，没有钱的话，我们好像生活非常不容易。但是你要知道，这里其实有很多的事情是比钱更重要的，比如我们经常会想到性，或者是我们会想到另外一些更重要的事情。就是比性还更重要的事情。然后下面一段是，当你没有钱，或者说你开始说，我需要钱来生活的时候，好像会变得特别的无助。在这个世界上，我们好像总是依赖于，就是你的生活好坏，好像，总是依赖于你有多少存款。然后后面一段是工作，当你在工作的时候就会得到钱，当我们有钱的时候，好像就会变得容易，直到我们有一些东西吃，就好像我们有吃的就会变得很容易。其实当你简单的比较一下，就是这种想法的时候，好像又不是这样的。马克思主义又真的好像是一个非常虚幻的一个东西。这是大概其的意思，老师刚刚还没讲啊，到时候老师讲完之后我再帮大家翻译啊。
Thank you. So basically what Sawaki Roshi is saying here is the same as in the quotes from 2 weeks ago about, well, quitting a game, taking a break from the game, not being a slave to the game. I read the 4th quote once more. Work. When you work, you get money. when you have money, you can take it easy and still have something to eat. That reminded me of a story that I originally heard from a Japanese Zen teacher who was living in Italy at the time. And in that story, I think there's an American that's trying to teach an Italian farmer or fisherman to work more so that he can enjoy his life more. And I was looking for that story on the internet. And I don't know about you, but a lot of my friends are kind of pretty critical of ChatGPT. At first, I was trying Google, and I didn't find it on Google, so I asked ChatGPT if it knew this story of a fisher taking a nap in the afternoon and someone lecturing him about capitalism. But ChatGPT didn't know that, at least to my knowledge, before January 2022. I'm not aware of a specific story. And then I tried again asking Bing. As you know, Bing also has, I think they call it Copilot. And the difference is Copilot has access to the internet. So Bing knew that story. And there seem to be lots of different versions of this story. Can you see it right now? Am I sharing or am I not sharing? I'm not sharing, sorry for that one. I thought I shared it. Probably now you can see it. So, for example, in America, there are versions with an US American and a Mexican or Brazilian. And I asked Bing Copilot who told the story for the first time. And I learned to my surprise that it was actually a quite famous German author. At least in Germany, he's quite famous. His name is Heinrich Böll, and he wrote it in the early 60s. Obviously, it has also been used quite a lot in school textbooks in Germany during the 70s and 80s, although I don't remember reading it when I was a kid in school. In my mind, the first time I heard it was from this Japanese Zen teacher in Italy. Be that as it may, if you're interested, you can find it probably in some version on the internet later if you look for it, or maybe some of you already know the story, but basically it goes like this. In the original version, it's a German tourist with a camera who's visiting some coastal town in Western Europe. And he sees a fisher there taking a nap in his boats, and he takes some photographic pictures of that fisher and wakes him up. And when the fisher wakes up, he asks him, it's probably 10 a.m. or so, what are you doing there? Well, I'm taking a nap. Why don't you fish? I already went fishing in the morning. And did you catch fish? The German tourist asked him, yes, I caught a lot. I'm quite happy. I was quite successful. And I already sold them on the market. So why don't you go a second time? If it's such a good day, you could go the second time and you could catch double. Why do you waste the whole day taking a nap when you could go and fish double? And the fisher asked, why should I? I already have enough for today. I have enough. Why should I? Well, if you catch double, you earn more money, and if you don't need the money, you can save it, and eventually you will be able to buy a bigger boat. And you have a bigger boat, you can also, hire some people that help you with the fishing, and you will catch even more fish, and you will earn even more money. And eventually you can buy a second boat, a third boat, you will have a whole fleet of boats. And you don't have to go fishing anymore. You can pay the people that fish for you. You will have a whole business. And eventually you will become rich. And well, the fisher then asks again, so then what? Why should I do that? What's the point in that? And the tourist says, well, then you can spend your days just, well, enjoying your time and be happy. And the fisher says, well, that's what I'm doing right now. Am I? Aren't I? I'm doing that right now. So why do you tell me to waste? I think the fisher asks him first, how long will it take until I have my fleet of boats and until I become rich? And the tourist says, well, maybe 15 or 20 years. And the fisher then asks, well, why should I ask? Why should I wait for 15 and 20 years so that I can finally enjoy my life when I'm already doing it right now? So that's a quite famous story. And I think basically what the story is saying is what Sawaki Roshi is saying here. Don't live your life for the future. On the other hand, I think the point of view of the fisher that I don't work to live, I don't live to work, but I work to live. So the meaning of my life is not working and becoming rich, but I work only so much that I have enough to live. I think there's a little danger with that attitude as well. Or, for example, today there's a lot of talk about work-life balance. Work-life balance, you have to balance it. The problem that I always see when I hear people talk about work-life balance, it sounds as if the more you work, the less life you have. And probably some people interpret the teaching of the fisher in that way. You should work for at least as possible, because then you have more life. But that, in my view, is also a strange idea, because work is part of your life. It's not that if you work, well, 4 hours instead of 8 hours per day, then you have 4 extra hours of life. Because if you work 8 hours a day, but you enjoy your work, there's no problem with that. So the problem is not that we work too much. The problem is that a lot of us work with the wrong attitude. You don't work and enjoy that work. It's not part of your life, but you only work so that you can later have a life. And then Sawaki Roshi's question, or the question of the fisher, would be, well, when is that later? Do I really have to wait for 20 years until I can finally enjoy my life? Or maybe I can enjoy my life already right now. So for that fisher going to fish in the morning, probably that's not something that he sacrificed so that he can later take a nap in the afternoon. He enjoys fishing in the morning, and he enjoys taking a nap in the afternoon. But a lot of time when we hear people talking about work-life balance, to my ears, it sounds as if the aim is to have a maximum of life with a minimum of work. And that, for me, is also a strange idea. Rather than have a minimum of work, try to get the maximum of fulfillment out of your work. Okay, so much from my side. Maybe Xuan-san, after you translate, we can open the space for questions and answers.
刚才老师其实他讲了一个故事，就是之前其实泽木老师在前面也说过很多次了，就是关于那个游戏，我们要从游戏当中走出来。然后今天其实重点提到了一个是关于生活还有金钱的一个平衡，就是在老师以前听过一个特别有名的故事，就是他去意大利，他听过去意大利那个应该是做那个就是讲学吧，然后他听到有一个禅修老师讲过一个故事，就是说有一个美国人教一个意大利的人生活和学习的平衡的一个故事。然后其实那个故事特别有名，那个故事他在网上呢就是搜了很多次不同的版本啊，然后都没有找到，最后他找到了一个 这个故事原来的一个版本。原来这个故事是德国的一个小故事，然后老师是德国人，他跟我说，他刚才说，这个应该是1960几年一个很有名的德国的作家之前写过的一个故事，然后这个故事呢也在德国的学生课本里面。然后他说他以前上学的时候好像没有印象读过，他第一次读这个小故事的时候呢，就是他来日本之后，一个禅修老师跟他讲的。然后这个故事讲的是什么呢？就是有一个摄影师，然后他去到处拍照，走到河边的时候呢，看到有一个钓鱼的人在旁边，在河边睡觉。然后他在给那个钓鱼的人拍照的时候，把那个人吵醒了。然后那个人就，然后正好那个摄影师就问他，就说你在干嘛呢？你怎么不钓鱼啊？然后他说我为什么要钓鱼啊？然后那个他说我说他说，然后那钓鱼人说我早上已经钓完了，我现在已经鱼都卖了，市场上都卖完了，我的工作都结束了，我现在在休息，我在睡觉。然后那个照相摄影师说，那你现在有时间，你为什么不再钓一轮儿？然后你再去市场上再卖，你就不是就会有更多的钱吗？你有更多的钱，你不是以后就可以买一艘船，就不用自己钓鱼。然后你买来船了之后呢，你就可以雇人来帮你钓鱼。你雇了人之后，有第一个船，你就可以有了更多钱，你就会买第二个船，然后买第三个船。以后你就不用自己钓鱼了，你就把你现在钓鱼这件事情做成了一个生意。然后你有了生意就有了钱呀，这多好啊！你为什么要睡觉呢？然后这个钓鱼的人继续问他，那我要是有了这钱，有了生意之后，然后怎么样？然后怎么样了呢？然后那个摄影师说，那你就可以休息了呀，你就可以享受你的生活了，你就会更幸福了。然后那个钓鱼人说，那我现在不就是在享受生活吗？那我现在不就是在休息吗？那我要是把我现在这件工作做成一个生意，有钱之后，那需要多久啊？然后那个摄影师说，那可能需要15到20年。然后那个钓鱼人说，那我为什么要等个15到20年才享受我的生活呢？我现在就是在过15到20年之后的生活呀。然后其实你看这个故事，其实就是泽姆老师他一直跟我们讲的，就是我们不要生活在将来。这个钓鱼的人呢，他可能是生活在现在，他的意义就好像，我已经工作完了，我有足够的金钱来享受我现在的生活，我足够就好了，我不需要，我不用今天为了明天，为了后天，然后为了我今天为了20年以后才能休息，而付出这20年的时间。其实我付出20年时间也是为了跟我现在一样的生活。然后当然，关于生活工作的平衡呢，有很多人都探讨过这件事情啊。就是说，有一些人说啊，我们应该更多的工作来少金钱。就是大家谈到工作和学习的时候，一种是这种，还有一种就是说，就刚才提的，你要更多的工作，然后有更好的生活，这是一个角度。然后还有一个角度呢，就是有一些人说，那我们应该就是不要那么多工作，以最少的工作，越少越好，然后把你更多的时间在生活当中。其实老师他说，从他的角度来说，认为这种想法也是非常奇怪的，就是你用最少的工作来支撑你更多的生活，也是非常奇怪的一个想法。我们应该就是老师的角度是说，其实不是因为你工作时间长，而是因为你不享受工作。如果你8个时间的工作其实就是你的生活的一部分，如果你可以把工作当成生活，把你8个小时的工作当成你生活的一部分，当成你的生活，享受生活，享受工作的话，其实你的工作时间也是你的生活时间。我们就是在工作，在现在，然后不是在未来，生活也是在现在，也不是在未来。为什么总是要将来？为什么总是要最后呢？为什么我们要等10年和20年才享受生活呢？就像这个钓鱼的人一样，他是很享受早上钓鱼的时间的，同时他也很享受午后休息的时间。那工作和生活其实这个平衡呢，并不是说我们要多工多多，并不是说我们要多生活少工作，而是说我们在工作的时候也应当享受和生活，就是这样才能是一个更好的平衡。这是老师的一个角度。然后大家有想分享的，可以跟老师分享，有问题也可以提。
Thank you. So, if there's anything you would like to ask or share, you're welcome to do so. Bernard, please.
Thank you. Your comment about the work-life balance remind me the so-called digital nomads that have become very popular recently, and it just seems that they also crack the code, that they already figure out life, and they're just chilling in an island, drinking in a with a coconut and working very little and earning tons of money. And that's also very suspicious. Like there must be something wrong with that. And yeah, it reminds me your critics about that.
Yes, yes. Yeah, well, the problem I see with that is what I just explained, to kind of think that work in itself is something negative, and of course it isn't. It becomes negative is if work is only a tool for you to reach happiness in the future. Then of course you feel unhappy when you work. But I think there's a way, an attitude to find happiness in work as well, even without being a workaholic. And I think the attitude that you just explained is that a lot of people think that work in itself is something that they should avoid. So they do try to do only a minimum of work so they can enjoy a maximum of life. But my question would be then, why not start with enjoying work itself? Why start enjoying life only after work is over? You can already enjoy your life while you're working. I would imagine that the fisherman also, he loved to fish, but there was no need for him to fish all day. He could of course fish all day, but he loved to fish, but then he loved to have a nap in the afternoon. And some people, they think only the nap in the afternoon is what they want to do, or party at night. But there's nothing wrong with working. Or like this question, meaning of life, that we already had, and my answer to that question is, well, there's no meaning in life, that's why it's so beautiful. But we all want to, well, have the feeling that it's worth living, we have a life worth living. And part of that feeling is, probably for a lot of people at least, is I'm contributing my part to this world. And if your aim is to reduce your work to a minimum, of course, you're also reducing your contribution to the world to a minimum. So I could imagine that at the end of the day, a lot of these people feel still kind of miserable because they have a lot of time and maybe they earn money with bitcoins, whatever, so they can party all night. But there's this feeling, what am I contributing to the world? And the answer is probably, well, not so much. So I mean, that's another reason why work, for a lot of people, it feels good to work, because you have the feeling, I'm doing my share, I'm contributing something there.
Yeah, just to add to what you said, that they also don't contribute a lot,
Yes,
like because they 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 promote this way of life of working so little,
yes,
as if everyone could do it. But if everyone could do it, then no one will actually produce their computers
yes.
or laptops that they use to do their work. So it's just doesn't make any sense, and they don't see it, or maybe it's a way to reject their reality,
Mm,
that it's a contradiction, and they want to convince everyone
mm,
because they're not convinced, maybe.
mm. Well, I basically agree. Mm. Because I mean, in Antaiji, when I was living in Antaiji, we said we were self-sufficient, but we what we did, we basically we grew our own rice and vegetables. That in alone is already a lot of work. but we didn't produce our own oil, salt, sugar. If we wanted to do that by ourselves, it would be a huge amount of work, and you still need somebody who's producing the clothes for you. You need somebody who's producing the electricity, and to plow the land you need somebody who's producing the agricultural tools. So if you really have the idea, well, we all basically need to do really not much any at all, and somehow somebody's going to take care of it. Well, probably not. Probably not. So if you can make a living out of 2 hours of working on the internet every day, you're very lucky. But probably it means that somebody else is doing a lot of work for you. And if that's okay with you, okay. But probably a lot of people have the feeling, actually, I'm not pulling my weight, so to speak. I'm not doing my share. And that's a bad feeling. Any other questions? Eugene, please.
Thank you. I had a question that a little bit not related to today's topic, but there is something that I wanted to figure out. In many books about Zen and in Kodo Sawaki Roshi book as well, he is speaking about the certain position that you practice Zazen in. This is the pose of lotus, if I'm not mistaken, if that is the correct name in English.
Yes.
But what if your legs are not flexible enough to get to this posture? And I suppose it will take a lot of time, especially for an adult person, to develop that kind of agility and flexibility in legs. So is there another option for the position that you can practice in?
Yes. Like what is called a lotus posture. Usually you have both legs up, like you sit like this. And if you do some yoga or you practice for a long time, you can do that. And if you can't, some people sit in half lotus. But if that's also too much for you, you can sit in, some people call it Burmese style. So both of the feet are down here, your knees are here. Also for some people in the beginning, it's difficult to get the knees on the floor, but if you practice some kind of stretching exercises and you become able to get the knees on the floor, this is also a good posture. Another thing, for example, when I was in Antaiji, quite a lot of people did that. Like there's this kneeling posture. In Japanese, it's called seiza, where you kneel like this, and just like this, it's hard on the ankles. But if you use a cushion under your buttocks like this, and then you kneel, this makes it easier for the ankles. And for some people, that's much easier to sit. And it's also good meditation posture. And then some people have small benches. So they sit on a small bench like this and they kneel. And if nothing of that is possible, you can still sit on a chair. In Antaiji, sometimes I had people that would meditate on chairs because nothing on the floor would really work for them. You have less stability, so it makes a difference. So when I say you don't have to sit in lotus posture, some people then ask me, so it doesn't make a difference then how I sit? And the answer to that second question, does it make a difference, is of course it makes a difference. So it's not the same. And you will find out by yourself how it differs. But if you can't sit in lotus posture, you don't have to. Don't force yourself. If you can't sit on the floor at all, sit on a chair. It's not the same, but it's still possible to do Zazen in a chair or in a standing posture. Some people meditate while they are lying down. That's also possible, although it's easier to fall asleep when you're lying. Most people prefer a sitting posture, but it doesn't have to be the lotus posture, as I said.
Thank you.
Any other questions or anything else you would like to share? If not, yes, please.
Yes, I'm sorry. Well, it just came across my mind when you were speaking about this work-life balance and the work as the mean of manifesting your life itself. There's actually a very good point on that made by there was such a psychiatrist, Eric Fromm, and he was one of the people who was popularizing Zen in Europe and America in 70s and 60s, and he had a very distinct point of view on that the work, well, in more abstract understanding, like when you are changing this world around you, something like this, it's kind of the way of obtaining the biggest happiness in life itself, because it's like a manifestation of who you are in the outside world. So that's just for the thing that you said, that work doesn't have to be like torture for you, but it's just a part of life that brings you happiness. It just reminded me of that point.
Yes, yes. Thank you. If there's nothing else you would like to ask or share today, next week I get back to the Fukan Zazengi, Dogen Zenji's manual for Zazen. We're already approaching the end. And in 2 weeks, we go back to Sawaki Roshi's To You. Thank you for sharing, for joining today, and hope to see you again next week. Have a nice week. What are we doing after Fukan Zazengi? I don't know. If you have suggestions, they are welcome. I haven't decided yet. So Heart Sutra also, yeah, that's one idea. The Heart Sutra would be possible. Yeah. Okay, thank you. Have a nice week. See you again. Thank you to Xuan for hosting us.